Yo, how's it going, duelists? Today I have another video. This will be a guide on Rescue Ace. We're just going to be going over 3 combo hands, 3 deck lists, and 3 replays. Actually not 3 deck lists, a bare bones and an actual deck list. We'll get into that. You could surmise I've played different lists in these videos. But we're gonna actually be going over like combo hands by themselves. If you'd like to see like the singular, if I just open like the Battlestar quick play, or if I just open like Hydrant or Airlifter, you know, just like 1 to 2 card combos, you can watch my other video that I posted before. But this video is basically just going to be, you know, this is my hand, what am I going to do with these 5 cards? And then we're going to go over replays versus, I think it was Tier, the Mirror, and Purrley. I think this deck is actually a very fun mirror match. I think it's like pretty skillful, so that might be, a lot of people might feel differently, but we'll see how it looks once we get into that. But yeah, I hope you enjoy. Alright, so let's get into the combos first. This combo is what seems to be a pretty mediocre hand, but let's see what we can do with it. So I'm going to activate Prosperity first. Normally I do not activate Prosperity first with this deck, but apparently when I made a tweet, like everyone disagreed with me about not ashing Prosperity. So if everyone's going to ash blind Prosperity, we are going to bait it so that we can use our emergency instead, because that's way more value than a random card from our deck for sure. So let's go activate Prosperity, banish 6. Let's see what we banish. So we will see the deck list later, but we banished the Sunlight Wolf. This is because I didn't open Ash Blossom. If I opened Ash Blossom, I probably would not banish Sunlight Wolf going first. In this build, I'm just playing 1 Impulse. I'm not really playing like the bricks that come with it, like Fire Engine or the mini Graceful Charity. Draw 2, discard 1. Baron to Floor, same thing, no Ash Blossom. Anima, I also don't like Jet Synchron, but that's a whole nother topic entirely. Let's just get through the combos. Okay, Underworld Goddess, really good card versus Purrley, but we're going first, so probably won't need it. Nightmare Phoenix, and then Unicorn. SP Little Knight's better than those cards, but Unicorn's kind of essential for making Link 4s, and then Nightmare Phoenix can dig for a card sometimes, so it's relatively good. Prosperity is going to add Hunter Fiend. I thought about adding Rescue Ace HQ because I do have Rescue Ace Hydrant in my hand, but after really going through it, the follow-up that Hunter Fiend provides is just broken, especially with the Hydrants. I will be going through all my Hydrants, and I only do this because I do play 3 Hydrants, but I still think that just drawing a card is still better than what Rescue Ace HQ would do, and Rescue Ace HQ has to stick where Hunter Fiend doesn't have to stick. Okay, and then we will add the Battlestar the Dark Witch. We will activate Dark Witch effect, pitching the Hydrant. We could have pitched Prosperity, but actually getting rid of those Rescue Ace cards that you don't need in your hand helps you play around a lot of cards like Nib, Impermanence, and Ash Blossom. I think it's really essential to just pitch. I'll even pitch Impulse first sometimes over like, say, Harpy's Feather Duster, Book of Eclipse, or additional Prosperity, just because having the monsters in graveyard is so valuable. Then we'll add Emergency off of the Airlifter, use our 1-for-1 original Sinful Spoil Snake Eye to summon our Hydrant from the deck. Hydrant will search, we'll add Turbulence, and then Turbulence is going to banish 2 to special itself in an attack position just to play around decks like Purrley. Now with this play we are playing around Nib because we've only actually summoned 4 times, and then we also are playing around Imperm, not the preemptive Imperm. But even if they had Imperm Nib, they would have to play this very weird. We're playing around Ash Blossom because we already have the Turbulence, that's why we searched it first. So basically we're playing around Nib, Imperm, Ash, any one of hand trap they could have, we just played around it. So I think that's pretty cool. Turbulence is going to guaranteed set 4 cards. And then it's really amazing that we're getting like all of this off of just like 2 cards when we had so many duplicates. Alert will add Preventer because we do have Hydrant. They still can't nib us yet. Then we'll special summon Preventer. Here they can nib us, but we do get back a Hydrant, and then we could also make IP with the nib token. And then I'll just put all of these 4 cards into a Appaloosa for 3,200 because we still have an Emergency in our hand, and we have a Reborn, and we have banished targets for Preventer. So technically we have 2 ways to get to a Rescue Ace, even if they can play through it. And then we get Preventer's effect and a Hydrant, so we have pretty much access to 3 rescue monsters off of this play. Another good thing I think about this play, I wouldn't do that right away, I would probably wait, but I'm just showing you all the interrupts we have. Also, when I summon Appaloosa versus a lot of decks, like say example Vanadium, using your traps is actually just way better than using Apple right away. Not only because of cards like Talents, but just like you know, Unchained for example, any deck where they can chain like a hand effect to try to like negate your trap. That's where Apple really shines, because now our trap's gonna resolve and it has like 2 broken effects. We really want that to resolve on the monster we're targeting. So I like saving the Apple and using my traps first a lot. Especially even with a card like Thrust, now they can't just add Duster and blow us out with that, because we used all our Apples. Alright, on to the next combo. We have more duplicates and a Harpy's Feather Duster. This is a good hand to showcase why we should pitch the Impulse. So here I'm about to do pretty much all this stuff that was not correct, and I go back and I'm like, oh wow. After analyzing all the hand traps I could have played around, it was definitely correct to just discard the Impulse. Even considering that we can't make Sunlight Wolf to add it back maybe, I still think it's better to just discard the Impulse, because you know we're going first anyway. So we're going to redo that hand, add the Diabellstar Dark Witch, special summon it, discard the Impulse this time so we have more fodder in our grave for our Turbulence. Summon the Rescue Ace Hydrant, Hydrant add Turbulence, summon Airlifter, Airlifter add Alert. Now obviously we could have summoned our Airlifter first and then use Hydrant. I don't really think it matters, because if we have Airlifter, say they imperm our Hydrant, Airlifter grabs Emergency anyway, and then we get to Turbulence, so they would need 2 hand traps regardless. And not many decks can play that much non-engine in this format. SP Little Knight with our 2 guys. So this is really good in my opinion. The reason why I do this, and the reason why I added Alert over Emergency, is just because we're playing around Nibiru. And like I said, the whole goal is to play around at least one of all of them. So we want to play around Nib, Imperm, and Ash. Making the SP Little Knight first actually facilitates that, as well as adding the Alert instead, because it gives us a +1, or not plus, well yeah, +1 off the Preventer. But rather than Emergency where I have to send a monster, we really don't want to do that in this scenario. We'd rather just add a monster directly from our deck. So basically 2 Hydrant effects. And then here, if we get nibbed, we would just let the nib go through, summon Preventer, make an IP, Masquerena, summon the Turbulence back that's banished, use Turbulence effect, and we get 4 sets IP Masquerena through nib. And then also here, this is if they imperm preemptively, we could just link these 2 again, then banish the Preventer, maybe make a Unicorn, then make an Apo for 2 counters. And they can't Ash us because we didn't add Emergency. So that's how we're playing around every hand trap. Activate our Turbulence, and if they activated Imperm here, we just chain SP Little Knight, ban it, or set 4, summon our Preventer, I'm assuming, yep, summon the Preventer, make Appaloosa. This is why I think 2 SP Little Knight is so essential in every deck, because usually I'm turning the SP Little Knight into an Appaloosa. Preventer effect, special summon the Hydrant, and then we get to draw a card. We could have done that earlier, obviously. Is there anything else that I do in this combo? No. Okay, and then we have a hand where we actually draw the Ash Blossom. So we'll see what we do with that. We'll use Diabellstar Dark Witch, set the Snake Eye Simple Spoils. I feel like I'm talking like so monotone, but it's because I'm trying to do this as quickly as possible. Okay, so we'll summon Baron, and then we will summon Preventer, summon Airlifter, then we'll tribute our Preventer. Obviously, we tribute Preventer as cost. I did a second on accident. Preventer effect, special summon Airlifter. Airlifter effect, get the Alert. You know, I just love adding Alert. Sometimes it's actually better to add the Monster Reborn though, because of just how it works. Like you could, like maybe even in this game, I think in this game I actually should have just added the Monster Reborn. Reason being is because you could you can just activate the Monster Reborn, summon the Hydrant, and then you can activate the Set Rhoda. You can't really do it vice versa. And I'll see me struggle with that in this hand. Add Impulse off that because we're about to link, I'm assuming. Banish 2, oh no, we're not. Summon Turbulence, so we definitely should have done that second as well. Set 4, we do have the Baron, so we're at least safe from one hand trap no matter what. Then we will link these 2 into Sunlight Wolf, activate the set, so that's why I said I really probably should have just added it first. Then we'll use Sunlight Wolf's effect to add the Ash Blossom that we used to Synchro Summon into our Baron. So now we have Impulse, Ash, Baron to floor, 3 sets. and 2 emergencies, and then we can make these into IP. And then I think I just wanted to show that like sometimes it does come up where you want to banish your own monster with SP. Say they try to like bait battle phase and you think they actually do have the evenly match. You could banish your own monster, and then you can like chain to evenly matched emergency, summon preventer, and then preventer can add your banished hydrant. That actually comes up a little frequently with this deck, is using your SP Little Knight on your own monster, because it does say you can target 1 card on the field or in the graveyard, banish it, so that means you can use your own graveyard. Alright, and then getting on to the replays. Let's go. Alright, so this is just going to showcase, I was playing versus Jib with, he's using Rescue Ace, so it's a Rescue Ace mirror. I thought all these games were like pretty good. So he's basically just going to do a bunch of stuff to get to the firewall, I'm pretty sure. Here we also see that I do save the Imperm for Turbulence. So I do think it is correct to save Imperm for Turbulence depending on what your opponent has. Also, it just depends if like, say like the more down bad you are, the more likely I am to do an early Imperm. The more up I am, I'm probably just going to save my Imperm for the like just the nail in the coffin, right? But yeah, it's pretty cool that we see that I also use the Dark to summon SP Little Knight. I think that's going to be a common theme. He does nib me because he has Valor Nib in this game, but I'm going through all my Charmers, and then I get nibbed, and then we're pretty much into a grind game for game 1. Whoever top decks the best. I do have the follow-up to get the Hydrant, and I do get the Trap, and I get the Hydrant back, so that's why SP Little Knight is just so strong through nib. I get 2 monsters back, one that's a floater. This is probably the best card he could have drawn in this scenario, because now he can play fully. This package is just so bonkers in this deck. Then he'll send the nib. I actually think he wins this game, so he'll activate that, summon the Hydrant. Hydrant gets the draw off the Sinful Spoils to get Imperm. Add Alert with the Airlifter, get Turbulence again, and then he'll get the set again. And I think that just like destroys me because he hasn't even set, because we did Imperm it, so now he has all his traps still in deck, and then, I mean, I'm just going to get destroyed. Don't get that effect because he has Hydrant, and then he gets to set it back with Emergency, broken stuff. Alright, next game we lost. Okay. And then this game, so this game is really just going to showcase how good Solemn Judgment is. And then we see here that because he has Lightning Storm, I believe that's why he did it, he just Valors the Hydrant. So there's actually some reads we could make. I think I should have made the read. It's not going to matter at all. But I think it is kind of a good read that if he's using the Valor immediately, he might have something like a Lightning Storm, because he's not really afraid of Turbulence at this point, right? Even though there is a lot of ways to play around Valor, as we just saw in my combos. Okay, activate Rescue, special summon the Hydrant. This game also shows why Fenrir is pretty good. Banish 2, get my 4 sets with my Solemn Judgment. That should be enough. Fenrir effect, can't forget that. Gets Ash. We're gonna Solemn the Lightning Storm, which is really powerful. 3. It doesn't really make sense logically though, like math wise, because you're trying to open a 3-of for a 3-of, but obviously Solemn can be used on any card. So yeah. And then we'll use the Contain on his Hydrant. I think I take back my Fenrir here, and I SP Little Knight instead, forcing him to tribute either his Preventer to special summon his Hydrant back or his Turbulence. And then here I can just not use my Fenrir and coast. Kind of just showing like this is very dramatic. Like if I use my Fenrir any earlier than here, I'm pretty much like just destroyed for this game. Grab my water. And then see, so when he summons the Turbulence, I can just Fenrir it there. This was a really interesting game. This is a game I probably wanted to show the most. Because this is so crazy. It's so crazy I don't use my Lightning Storm in this game. I think that's the coolest part about it. So he adds Emergency off the Airlifter, right? Airlifter gets the Turbulence, resolves. We obviously have nothing to interrupt with. And then he's going to have his Imperm as well because he'll use set with his Hydran on field. Grab Preventer, probably Special It, do the whole Firewall combo because he is playing the Firewall package. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm pretty... I say I'm not the biggest fan when it's like 50-50 I'm playing it, for sure. Sends this, which blocks Lightning Storm. So I'm basically just... because he doesn't have a Rescue Ace on field, I know he has Impulse. I think that if I could just bait this, I win the game. And it's so funny because on a stream later I watched it and he's like, because I wanted to see what, like, how he played this or what he was thinking, and he was literally saying I should have used the fusion earlier on a card. Basically, I'm just trying to bait that while also not playing. He chains Impulse, he gets to draw 2. And then he's going to discard that, because this card adding for Grave is also really relevant a lot of the time. He extinguishes my guy, so even here I could have Lightning Storms, but I'm like, he'll probably just go for the +1 on my 1-for-1. I was like, he'll probably definitely just use the fusion here, and he doesn't. So now my Lightning Storm's just like that. Banish Hydrant, he specials, gets his Hydrant, now I can't use this as material, but guess what, I can still tribute it for Diabellstar, which is a common theme I see with when this card gets activated versus deck. If they have the Diabellstar, it's just so powerful. Summon the Link Rebo. This is one scenario as well where playing Anima is really good versus the Firewall package, which is why I'm kind of turned off by the Firewall package, because if you get Anima'd on that bad boy, like, that's just so broken. Like, it just forces the monster negate. It's like a +1, kind of. SP Little Knight, effect on Firewall. This will make his fusion dead. He chains it to negate my SP Little Knight. I'd say that's fine. Now my Lightning Storm's looking dead as hell because I did send I sent the Preventer from field with Diabellstar instead of the Lightning Storm, which I think was worth it. Then summon that guy, make a Link, make Hita, which is just so broken in this matchup. We still have Emergency and Turbulence. Now my Turbulence is resolving. That's pretty much curtains. But look at that, he had 5 sets, and we actually played around it without even using Lightning Storm, just with like Engine in the mirror match. I think that's kind of crazy, and that might be a testament that like Firewall might not be that good. But let me know what you think about that match, because I also have more, but we're gonna go on to a different deck. Let me know what you think about that match, if there's anything that could have been done differently, where I'm not supposed to win that game 3. But I feel like it was pretty hard for me to lose, and that's just so crazy because he got +4 going first, which makes me think that maybe my strategies to play around cards might not be the best, because I might be just like losing out on some significant value that I need to win the game. But at the same time, I just think it's like so consistent. Like, if I'm just always playing around those hand traps and I'm always going +4, more often than not I'm gonna win, because my opponent's gonna draw bad or something at least, right? Okay, so we're just rescue acing the hell out of them, going first, Apple for 4, we're lit. I think a thing that makes me different from a lot of people is I summon Apple for 4 a lot in this deck. Because I think that shit's broken. Now I do think Apple kind of sucks, but I'm like, 4 counters, 3200, like, how you getting over that? We don't use the Apple on the Rhino, we instead use it on the monster in the graveyard. I think that was correct for sure. It's a Scream ad, but it's like, boy, it's like, man, I still got 4 interrupts, right, with Preventer and the 2 traps, and then even another Preventer off the, or no, oh, this is what another thing that's just so good to highlight. Versus Tearlaments, this card gets so much better, because now when they Keldo, if they do anything for cost, say with even the Horus card, now I can just chain it, and guess what, Kelback's not resolving. It's just so broken. I feel like a lot of people remember that even with like the original tier matchup, that was just such a thing, using Keldo or Medora on the monster that was pitched. I think he bricks, so that's why I use Ash here. He's forced to poly, get his Kelback, and you know, that's broken. Which is I think it's a heads up play by him, but just he definitely drew bad to have to do that with the poly. Though I mean, it's not the worst board that he gets. I mean, both fusions, Kaleido, Little Knight, is actually just like really not that good. It's really underwhelming. And then our hand's just like the stones. So that's how we won this game. I mean, I don't know. This probably wasn't the best match to pick versus tier, but I was just like, it's right next to it, so yeah. But this deck can go ham. What can I say? Rescue Ace is. I feel like people just hate this deck. I feel like it's a good deck, but people hate it. I still don't know about the Horus cards in tier limit. I think they might just not be that good. I mean, this guy's just broken because he's literally a +1, and he just facilitates a lot of the activation requirements of the deck. And it's fodder for Mud Dragons, so I do think he's really good, but I still don't know. Okay, and then this is versus Purrley. Purrley, though, for Rescue Ace is not the easiest matchup, especially if they're playing non-engine. Like this, he's just using hand traps, and I'm still having a terrible time. And imagine if these cards were like Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster, it might be way more difficult. We just special our Fenrir, get our guys. Wait, did he not Ash? Alright, I feel like it's because I wrote it first. So I also believe that Pressured Planet is good to start with. If you are going to play this, it's better to start with this because they're probably gonna game one. They're probably gonna think you're playing Kashtira and Ash Blossom and Field Spell. At least that's what I would do. I'm never letting Field Spell resolve blind. If that shit's Kashtira, I'm about to brick their whole world. I'm about to win the game off with just one Ash Blossom like it's Despia. So yeah, SP Little Knight effect. Banish the My Friend. Summons he's proxying SP Little Knight because he forgot to put it in the deck. So we chain banish both our SP Little Knights. He gets his Eat Purrley Happiness, which I've basically just been trying to play around. Because this is pretty much what you just have to play around for versus Purrley, or else you'll never win. We do a lot of takebacks. This is my boy. Yeah. So there's a lot of takebacks. But that's okay. When you're doing like real playtesting, definitely taking things back is like so much more efficient. You want to play as optimally as possible. You want to know like the real math of like what a deck's win rate actually is. So yeah, definitely recommend taking stuff back. Activate Planet and just attack over his SP Little Knight because it's a higher attack now. Because I don't actually activate the effect. In this build, I'm only playing 2 Fenrirs. It's really just to facilitate the Diabellstar cards with a field spell. And I think if you are playing the Diabellstar cards, though, it's probably correct to just run 2 Fenrir and field spells. I think that's like a better ratio, because like, are you really going to search a 3rd Fenrir ever? Probably not. I would assume, like, I don't think that's realistic. Oh my god. And then this is just what sucks about playing Purrley. Yeah, you just get debarriered to the next dimension. So, I should have showed a game I lost, now looking back on it, but I think this is still, like, not the worst game to, showcase what that's possible to win, but I mean, it's really just relying on side cards. Let me know if you want to see more Purrley matchups. I think it's, like, okay, but we can still see how I combo, at least, with these cards. Just doing the safest play possible. It's weird because I had Thrust, so I try to play into a monster, because if I can get D-Barrier for 2 turns, I'm gonna do it. In this build, I'm playing multiple D-Barriers, and like, D-Barriers literally just skip a turn versus Purrley. But yeah, I'm just gonna... Is there a next game? Yeah, there's no next game. Oh wait, no, I lost the game 1. Okay. So this is actually pretty good. I was like, if I just 2-0'd, because I wasn't paying attention during game 1, if I just 2-0'd him, then that was a terrible game to show. Okay, and then we'll activate My Friend. Get Street Effect. Early Noir. This is just so broken. It's so hard to play versus this. Like, that's why it's like Book of Eclipse might actually be a really good relevant card to play in this deck. Because when you, like, not having something to stop them from drawing 6 cards is ridiculous. Like, I feel so dumb. It's just awful. Then he's just going off. Draw 6. Activate Duster. Pretty good Duster. Not gonna lie. Set our Contain so we can activate it with our Hydrant if we need to. Yeah, I just lost. Alright, well, I just lost. So it was good to show a match I lost, because how the hell would I beat that? Oh, it's just there's more games in this match than I thought there were. Okay, well, we don't want to spend all day on that. And then we have a bare bones list. So this list will be in the description. And this is just like something good to know about like building decks in general. How I usually build decks, I don't know if everybody's like this, but as a mildly successful Yu-Gi-Oh player, I build my decks with optimal cards going first. I didn't want this one to be messy, so and this is just a bare bones, which is why we have like all these extra deck cards on the side, because this is basically just like all the cards we could play. But going back to how I build decks, so how I really build decks in DB, that when I don't care about like how it looks, is I'll literally go card for card what goes first. So say like I'll have hydrants, right? Like, do you play 3 or 2 hydrants? Well, 1 hydrant is mandatory, right? 2 hydrants mandatory, but not as mandatory as playing 1. So, and then 3 hydrants, not mandatory at all, but might be better. So hydrant actually in this scenario would go after like these 7 cards, because all of these cards are way more mandatory ratios to play than the third of hydrant. And I do the same thing with like side decks, main deck, not with like Prosperity and Ash Blossom, because usually those are cards where if I'm like going to play it, I'm going to max out. And like same, like if they're just broken, or like say I was playing like a second Dark Witch. Well, Dark Witch number 2 would go after these 30 cards, because I've already deemed these 30 cards as essential for the deck. This is basically like your engine, not actual engine. This is just like your mandatory cards. Like Rhoda, you want to play as many Airlifters as you can. Airlifter's broken. So this is just all the cards that you have to play, which really only leaves us with like 10 to 12 spots, depending on how many cards you want to play in your deck. But that's just how busted all these cards are, so I think it is necessary. But the extra deck monsters, we have like Baron de Fleur. I'm not saying this is the mandatory extra deck, but this is like kind of the Firewall package at the end. And then these are all the cards I would play if I am playing the Firewall package. So these are kind of like the most mandatory in my opinion, everything before Firewall, and then you can substitute the Firewall package for any of these. And then some of these cards are definitely less known. So we have Baron de Fleur, Unicorn, like I mentioned. We kind of do need a Link 3 with this deck a lot of the time. So that's what I don't like about this extra deck, but G-Golem and Binary kind of make up for that. Even though they're not Link 3s, they do climb into Link 4s. But if I'm not playing these, I definitely think a card like Unicorn, or maybe even Topologic Trisbana, this card's better versus like a deck like Labyrinth, are necessary. Nightmare Phoenix, like I said, it helps you discard a card, which is like people are literally playing Barricade Board Blocker just to discard a card, so it's pretty relevant. Underworld Goddess, a really good card versus Purrley. Heat Soul, because we can make it with like Sunlight Wolf and Link Rebo to draw a card, but we are playing Prosperity, so I wasn't actually making that card that much. Link Rebo just for Ibly. Heat Soul, or Heat Leo, my bad. Bear Code, we already mentioned. Anima, good versus the Firewall. Puzzle Lamino, we could play this with Gigantic. I don't really like the Ibly build anymore. But not only that, this card's really good for Dweller, which is why Dweller's right next to it, because it helps make another monster level 4 for Dweller. We can now play Selene with the Diabell Star of the Dark Witch. Topologic Zero Boros, just another good Link 4. And then Clara and Rishka. It's kind of just a neat card. It can only be summoned during the main phase too, but it's a good way to get Airlifter in the graveyard. Definitely combos well with Evenly too. But yeah, and then all these cards we already know. And then for an actual deck list, I'll also give this in the description. I think it's a pretty good side deck. This anti-spell is obviously like what's a non-necessary card. It is playing 2 Dark Witch, and then it just has a bunch of non-engine because like I said, I was worried about that Purrley matchup. And then I've also been messing around with like Fenrir's in the main. There's a lot of different ways you can build those last 10 cards, but like I said, it's pretty much more or less all the same. It's just like, what are you gonna pick? It's RNG. What decks do you think you're gonna play at the tournament? Is there gonna be a lot of Unchained? Well, then we gotta play Dweller, right? Is there not gonna be a lot of Unchained? Then we probably need a Feather Duster, Book of Eclipse, and Lightning Storms, right? Yeah, it's pretty meta dependent. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, you know, kind of full-on long guide on the Rescue Ace Diabellstar deck for post AGOV. If you appreciated it, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. It means a lot. I hope you have a great day, Duelist, and peace.